you see the cross section of, there are Ninja Turtles in Magic the Gathering now. There's Spider-Man in Magic the Gathering now. There's so many cross sections just meeting in the middle. And like you said, Star Wars, for instance, you had to be a sci-fi nerd to enjoy Star Wars, and that isn't the case anymore.
Welcome to this.
Remember yesterday at the convention? Those people dressed like aliens? They were aliens. They were termites or Dalmatians. I can't really remember because I was kind of hungover.
Episode of the Maz's Musings podcast, where, we're talking conventions, and specifically we're talking WesternMassCon, which is going to have its debut in the city of Springfield, Massachusetts, and it's going to bring together a whole bunch of people who are involved in the quote-unquote, and forgive me for using this, but I can't think of a different term, nerd culture. And there are my air quotes right there for people who are listening and not watching. I am doing the air quotes because, well, I don't know. It's something that people have embraced, but it's also a little bit of a derogatory term. So I don't know where people stand on all of this. But anyway, WesternMassCon is going to bring together people who are into gaming, who are into anime, who are into cosplay, who are into all these different aspects of pop culture, and they're all going to be coming together in Springfield at MGM Springfield, and that's going to be happening later this month. And I have the opportunity to talk with my good friend Joe Lavoie, who is the organizer of this special event that is taking place in our hometown of Springfield, Massachusetts. So we're going to be talking about that. Joe is also going to help me out with this week's Maz's Mickey Minute. And we're also going to delve a little bit into our own, little nerd culture discussion about Maul and the new installment in the story of Maul that you're going to hear. We're both really looking forward to. So before we get into all of that, one other thing that we all have to look forward to is a laugh. And Meghan is here to provide it with her Cuckoo Bananas Joke of the Week.
And now it's time for Meghan's
Cuckoo Bananas Joke.
Hi, Meghan.
Hi.
Do you have a joke for us today?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
What do you call your friend if he or she's dressed up as a bunny on Easter?
I don't know. What do you call your friend if they're dressed up like a bunny on Easter?
Easter buddy.
Easter buddy. Good one. And topical too, because it's Easter, or it's almost Easter. Why are we whistling?
I do not know.
Okay.
IDK.
Well, I do know it's time for us to go check on our eggs, because we made some eggs.
Just put them in, Daddy.
Right, but we should go check on them. So say good night.
Good night. Meow, 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 meow.
No. It's the Easter Bunny, not the Easter Kitty. All right, well, there's Meghan's joke for this week. And I know that I said that we'd have a Maz's Mickey Minute. It is coming, but we're going to get straight into our main topic. And that is talking with Joe about WesternMassCon. So here we go. All right, so I'm here with Joe, who, if those who have listened to the podcast before have heard Joe talk about, well, a few different things. We've talked about pro wrestling, we've talked about Formula One, and today he is here to talk about WesternMassCon, an idea of his own, his own doing and his own special. It's his own special brainchild that he's been working hard on, and it's coming up April 25th and 26th at MGM Springfield here in Springfield, Massachusetts. But before we get into all of that, for those who are either new listeners to the podcast or don't remember the last time you were on, here's a chance for you to introduce or reintroduce yourself, Joe. So have at it.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Joe Lavoie. Caught me off guard there a little bit. I teach computer science during the day, and at night I wear many hats. One of which is running WesternMassCon. But I also have a YouTube channel called F1 Silly Mornings. I stream, I do pixel art, I talk about anime a lot. And that's kind of brought me to this culmination of starting WesternMassCon.
Yeah, so let's just start right there. We'll get into more of the details about what we can expect.
Right.
But first, what made you decide, you know what, this is something that I really want to do, and I feel like there's an appetite for it here in Western Massachusetts?
So there's so many points to touch on in that question, and that's a really good question. So one of the things that happened a few years ago, and it happened 2 or 3 times, I can't remember, but we had Springfield Comic-Con, which came in, and they were at the Mass Mutual Center. The first year, it was on like the hottest day of the year. It was a 1-day convention. It was the hottest day of the year.
And the line was outside, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
people were passing out, and that was the thing. And I was like, I don't, so I was an artist at that convention. I signed up for a table and everything, and it was insane. People showed they had an appetite for what was happening there. And it was really cool to see because, we live in Springfield, I'm like, wow, this is actually really amazing. And we live in kind of a really interesting area where we do have multiple cities kind of, joining together. And so as the subsequent cons happened, the Springfield Comic-Con, they kind of fell, a little bit more flat, not because of the people going, but, just and I'm trying not to insult, but just the way that it was presented and everything. One of the things is that, and I took kind of stock as to what I saw and what could be improved. And I've been to a lot of conventions, both as just somebody going to conventions and somebody tabling at a convention. And also somebody working with a voice actor at a convention and everything. And there's multiple conventions that happen around this area, especially in Connecticut, and the eastern part of the state. But I took stock into what could be done. And one of the things that I'm like, especially in Western Mass, the MGM, one of the things it's famous for is that big parking garage that doesn't charge, right? It's free to park there. And if you can get people into a spot and not have to have them cross a road and just be able to walk into a building and go to a convention, that's the ticket. That's what you want. That's what I would want. So I started putting this together at the beginning of last year, and I was going to try to run it last year, but everything it was too really compressed. So I was like, okay, we'll go to April of 2026. And that's where we are pretty much now. I mean, it's the 31st of March when we're talking. So, yeah. So having been an artist and having those connections and kind of getting that, and you know what, I thought I could figure it all out, and I thought I would be, really smart about it. And it's been the most humbling experience of my life, really, because you don't know what you don't know as you go along. So, but I'm really excited for this to exist here, and for everybody in the area.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what people can expect if they are planning on attending. Now, I'm reading from the website here. It says, "Welcome to Western MassCon. Get ready for an exciting weekend featuring the best of pop culture. Our convention is the ultimate gathering for fans, creators, and industry experts." So, it says, "Join us for a weekend filled with engaging panels, exclusive merchandise, and unforgettable experiences." So, let's talk about what some of those unforgettable experiences might be like for folks.
We have a selection of professional voice actors and, that are really slated to wow. We have, I don't know if you know this, but we have the voice of Toad from Super Mario Kart coming to our convention, as well as the voice of Strawberry Shortcake coming to our convention. I mean, so some of these and I'm I'm lowballing everybody else as well, because that's, there's so many amazing voice actors that are going to be in attendance, whether it's Christina Costello, Nathan Noakes, Lila Bearson, Lauren Levy, Travis Arts, Jeremy Levy, Dick Terhune. I could go on. There's so many more. So being able to meet some of the people that voice your favorite characters, that is always an amazing experience. When you walk into the convention center, and you walk into the ballroom there, you're going to be immediately struck by, the first thing you're going to probably see is the 501st, which are professional grade cosplayers for Star Wars. These are people who, and for those of you that are familiar with the 501st, this is not news to you, but for those of you that aren't, these are people that have to actually get their cosplay approved, because they should be able to be used in a movie. So that's the level of perfection. So you're going to have a really awesome experience there, as well with the Western Mass Ghostbusters. And then when you finally actually get to the convention floor, you're going to be shocked at how many amazing independent artists that there are, as well as some few select vendors that we have. You're going to be able to get things that you normally wouldn't be able to see in the area. And then if you're a gamer, on top of everything, you're going to be able to go to our game room. And we've partnered with a local store here, Off the Wall Games in in West Springfield, I should say. And they're going to be running all sorts of games and having board games, Magic the Gathering tournaments, whatnot, throughout the entire weekend. So it's something. There's going to be something for everyone. We're going to have panels in the panel room, which will be right next to the gaming room, and we're also going to have the cosplay contest. I've already seen some of the cosplays that are being submitted. It's going to be something that you're not going to want to miss. If you do cosplay, that sounds weird. I do, but I can't, because I'm running a convention that weekend. You're going to be able to take photos outside with the Armory building in the background and everything out on the terrace. So it's really going to be amazing. I really feel it. And I'm probably overselling it there, but at the same time, it's happening in your backyard if you live here.
Yeah.
So
now talk a little bit about MGM and how that ended up being the key spot for you guys, and why you decided that was the right venue for you.
So MGM is such a focal point for, I think, the Springfield area, just because of the convenience of the garage, the building right there. I always, like I had said before, not having to cross the street for anyone, because the Mass Mutual Center is right across the street, but you have to go around, you have to go into the building, you have to find your way through. It's a little bit of a pain for not only, people attending the convention, especially if you have little children, you're trying to cross the street, it's a busy day. But also for the people setting up, for the artists and the vendors and everybody else, the 501st, you're going to see stormtroopers running across the street trying to avoid cars. We put in the MGM, and we immediately have this comfort factor, because on top of everything, you have the comforts of the MGM right there. You can, if you want to go get lunch, well, there's plenty of selection, plenty of places to go for lunch right there. You could go to the little food court there, or you could go to the restaurants that are attached there. What else? On top of that, what we are offering with MGM is we are going to have complimentary coffee, tea, lemonade, and water for everyone at the convention, available at any point. And so those are things that you typically won't get at convention centers. So it just made sense when we were looking for a local partner, looking for a place to actually, have this happen. And I think it's really going to, yes, it's smaller than the Mass Mutual Center, but I think we're getting more bang for the buck. And it's not to discredit the Mass Mutual Center. We're just a smaller convention right now. And this is the perfect footprint for us.
Now, and this is going to be in the ballroom, the Aria ballroom?
So we're taking up both ballrooms, the Aria and Bellagio. So, and we'll have that entire area for the convention, including the outdoor terrace and everything. Yep.
Excellent. So you mentioned the cosplay contest. You mentioned that there's going to be a gaming area and everything, and so much of this, obviously all of it is kind of like, I guess it's a comic cons and cons like this in general really have become gathering places for the quote unquote forgive the they're the air quotes, there you go, nerd culture. And really it's funny when it seems that that culture has really hit kind of a stride in mainstream that didn't previously exist. I remember, growing up when I did. If you were a Star Wars fan, you were a nerd. You were someone who was getting, it wasn't part of the pop culture more generally as it is now. And so it was, if you were a sci-fi fan or a Star Wars fan or whatever, you were into these things. If you're into Magic the Gathering, these were kind of put you on the fringes of popular society. And now this seems to have gained steam as something that is part of mainstream pop culture. And I kind of always wondered, and this may be a little bit of a chicken and egg thing, but did cons really help push these things more towards like the public eye and having people take notice of it? Or was it more the other way around, where the culture started to shift and become more accepting, and so more of these things started popping up?
I think it can be both. I think that's the thing. The one begets the other, and it just kind of culminates and everything. When you had when you have these conventions, and you have companies like Disney just creating these, we'll talk about Disney very briefly, purchasing Marvel and then creating the Marvel movies and the Marvel cinematic universe that we know today. Suddenly comic books are cool. Suddenly at least comic book heroes are cool. And it's cool to associate with that, because suddenly it's like, well, I saw those movies. Maybe I have a little bit more hunger for more than that. And so comic book sales went up, and you see that. And suddenly it's like, well, where can I meet the people that wrote this or were in it? Well, they're going to be at conventions, so you got to go to, and people would be like, oh, well, that's at San Diego Comic-Con, and that's huge. And yeah, it is. But there are conventions everywhere, and they satisfy all kind of niche and just, or generalities as well. One of the cool things that I see, is that Netflix, gigantic company, says that 1 in 2 people watch anime on their platform. 1 in 2 users on their platform watch anime now. And, I remember getting beat up for enjoying Dragon Ball Z when I was a kid. And now it's super popular, and now, anybody watches anime. Adults watch anime. I still watch anime, obviously. But I mean, it's something that is no longer this thing to be ridiculed. Your subcultures are no longer just, weird and nerdy. It's fun. It's fun to enjoy things. And I think that's a shift. It's a shift in our culture. And it's a positive one. Magic the Gathering, that just nerds play that game. It's the most popular card game in the world, So here we are, it's like it comes to that, so and you see the cross section of, there are Ninja Turtles in Magic the Gathering now. There's Spider-Man in Magic the Gathering now. There's so much that has there's so many cross sections just meeting in the middle. And like you said, Star Wars, for instance, you had to be a sci-fi nerd to enjoy Star Wars, and that isn't the case anymore. You can be a casual Star Wars fan. You can be a hyper Star Wars fan, and you both appreciate what exists. So I think that conventions have helped, but I think that the materials that exist and being able to access those materials, that's really the key. And that's what the internet has really pushed, is that, we're able to, you're able to watch any Star Wars media at any time. You're able to watch any anime that you want to watch at any time, Marvel, so on and so forth. So I think it's just as we get older, as this generation gets older and kind of pushes the fact that, no, I like this thing, like I love Disney. I went to Disney again in Japan in January. So, and it's okay to love the things that you love. And that's what conventions really celebrate, I feel.
No, I mean, I think that's a great point. And I think that you mentioned that the internet is making a lot of these things a lot more accessible to people. But I think the conventions really connect people to it on an even more human level. Obviously human, you're interacting with other people. But yeah, it really is one of those things when you are actually there with other people who are sharing an interest, a passion, whether you're talking about going to a convention or you're going to Disney World or whatever, when you find your people, so to speak, and people who are feeling the same vibe as you are and talking a similar language as you, even if you don't necessarily speak the same language,
Right.
there are bridges that exist there that are created from those in-person one-on-one interactions.
No, 100%. Especially when somebody buys like a piece of art or wears a certain cosplay and is like, oh my God, I love that character, and so on and so forth, and suddenly you're making a friend right on the fly, at these conventions and everything, creating that connection and seeing, like you said, the internet is great for creating that in your home, but suddenly, at a convention level, you're able to experience it all right there. So yeah, no, definitely.
So you had mentioned that there are going to be a lot of independent artists and such. I was looking at your website. It looks like the Artist Alley tables there's no more room there.
No more room in Artist Alley. We have some vendor tables, but and we might convert some of those to other artists. We're kind of talking to some that that weren't able to get in before. But yeah, Artist Alley is completely sold out. We're going to have over 50 independent artists up and down the floor. So it's going to be pretty cool.
And for people who are looking to attend, I know that there are going to be no tickets sold day of. So how do people make sure that they can get in?
So even if you want to get in, if you forget until the day of, you can order right there on the website, because we just can't sell on premise, and that's just a rule with MGM and everything. I know they have their partners and we have our, and we respect that. But if you hop on over to WesternMassCon.com, right front and center, you'll see buy tickets right here. And you buy your tickets, it's $20 for one day, either Saturday or Sunday, or $30 for both. And, if you're really jonesing to, walk around and really take your time and play games and catch the panels and catch the cosplay contests, maybe, we're going to have some, what are they? Saber classes from the 501st. So those are pretty cool.
Nice.
If you're wanting to take your time, or even if you want to just show up a little bit on Saturday and then show up a little bit on Sunday, hey, $30, you can't get much with $30 nowadays. But yeah, just come to the website. Just go to the website. You can order right there. It's really quick. Yeah.
And if people are looking for more information, like to see who's coming, I know that you've got some information there on the website as well, but you got any socials that you want to throw out there as well?
Yeah, if you want to check out our Instagram is where we're most prevalent. It would be WesternMassCon, at WesternMassCon. You can see everybody who's available that will be available at the convention. And we're really excited to have all of these voice actors, and we also have an author. And we have a local cosplay kind of artist that is going to be running the cosplay contest, Mandy Strange Cosplay, Mandy Strange FX, I should say. And like I said, we're going to have off the wall games running the gaming room. And yeah, just check us out on Instagram. We have some stuff going up on Facebook this week, but yeah, we're most prevalent on Instagram right now.
All right. Now you mentioned all of these things, all of these panels and gaming sessions and cosplay contests. and it really gets me wondering, you've been to your share of cons over the years. Is there anything that in your experiences that has really stuck out to you, something that has really made you like take a step back and say, whoa, whether it's someone that you've gotten to meet, whether it's a panel that you were able to, to sit in on, or just, somebody's cosplay that really blew you away? Is there anything that has, to this day, when you think about your experience at these conventions, that really you're just like, wow, that's one that I really remember?
So I remember, yes, there's so many conventions that I've been to, and there's so many moments that really stuck out as an artist selling, like I remember a lot of my customers and customers that have always come back to me. But there was one time, and I was at Fan Expo Boston, and one of my favorite voice actors of all time, his name is Chris Sabat, and he's very well known, and he's the voice of, commonly known as the voice of Vegeta from the Dragon Ball series. He's Zoro from the One Piece anime, and he's a number of other. If you hear his voice, he is a voice of a generation. And I remember I had some pieces of art of mine in my hand, and I was going to get them signed by him. And I was standing in line, and I'm like looking at my art, and somebody walks by and goes, "That's cool," and just hits my art with their finger. And I look up, and I'm angry at the moment. Like, how dare you touch my, touch me like that? And it was Chris Sabat walking to his table, I'm just like that was it. It's such a small moment in my life, but it stuck because he didn't need to do that. He didn't have to do anything like that. And he just walked by, that's cool. And it was like a picture of All Might that I drew. And in pixel art and whatnot. So it was really, really a cool moment. And he also hung up some of my art at the Fan Expo, nice, at his booth. So that was a very awesome show. And you get those moments at conventions, these people really want to meet their fans and they really enjoy it. And I think that a lot of these people I think a lot of fans that are coming to this will really appreciate that. So,
excellent. So before we move on here, is there anything else that you think people need to know about the WesternMassCon, or and any other information that you'd like them to know about how to find you or your art, etc.? Now's an opportunity.
I mean, if you check out WesternMassCon at on Instagram at WesternMassCon. You can also go to WesternMassCon.com to buy your tickets. Please do. We'd love to have you there. You can find me on Instagram, Pixel Helk. If you find the person who likes all of WesternMassCon stuff, that's me, Pixel Help. Have to drive those numbers up sometimes, but no, you can check out my art there. Sometimes I take a picture of like Mount Fuji when I'm in Japan or something special happening, but check us out there. And if you have a thirst for Formula One, you can check out F1 Silly Mornings on YouTube, which would be another one of my things that I work on, especially with Formula One kicking up right now. Taking a 5-week vacation from it, though, because of the happenings in the Middle East. So that's going to happen. Oh, well. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and that's where you can find WesternMassCon information for all of that. And if you send a message on the website, you're going to reach me. So I'll be the one to reply to you.
Excellent. He's a jack of all trades, folks. We've had him on for just about everything, and I'm now going to put him on the spot a little bit because he brought it up. He brought up Disneyland in Japan. So I'm taking this opportunity. I'm seizing it, and I'm on the fly, including you in this week's episode's Mazza Mickey Minute.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about.
Donald, wake up! It's showtime! Don't forget the orchestra!
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. And here we go!
We're gonna talk about. I just love hearing about the experiences, in different parks that I haven't been able to be at, and obviously Disneyland Disneyland in Tokyo is one of those. I'm going to experience Disneyland Paris in the summer, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
But so I know that you and I have talked personally about it, but what sets this Disney park apart from some of the other ones that you've experienced?
I think it's because I've experienced, we just went to Disneyland Tokyo this time. One of the things is that you don't even feel like, I guess it's so weird. You're in like the biggest city in the world, but you don't even feel it when you walk into Disneyland Tokyo. It's like you're just in Disneyland. You're in Disneyland, like it where it's situated and everything. Yes, it's a little bit further out of the downtown and everything, obviously. But if you can really say that there's a downtown, it's a huge city, but you wouldn't even know that you're in Tokyo. You walk into Disneyland Tokyo and you're like, oh my God, it's just Disneyland. And, you can, unfortunately, like one of the things was that like Space Mountain was going through renovations, so we couldn't go on that. We went on Star Tours, and that's a really cool. Hearing Darth Vader's voice in Japanese is a very cool and intimidating thing, even and it's just you don't lose the Disney magic really when you go into these parks. And the funny thing is that it's just like you were in a park in America, because I've gone to, I've been to Disney World, I've been to Disneyland in California, and it's just everybody is just there for it. One of the cool things about Tokyo Disneyland is that they also have vending machines that you can get drinks and stuff like that out of, and so you can get like Japanese drinks out of there. And it's usually cheaper than, anything in America. So it's a great way to save some money.
What isn't it at this point?
Yeah, I know, right? It costs $100 to wake up in America now. So that's what it feels like. Right. So, but no, you're in the biggest city in the world and you wouldn't even know it. That's one of the coolest things about Disneyland Tokyo.
Yeah, and that's something that I was always wondering is just like this piece of Americana that's just like plopped down in Japan, or how do they meld at all cultures, and make sure that things have some feeling of relevance, to somebody from a completely different culture.
So definitely. So yeah, you do have, Main Street USA, when you walk in there, and it's one of those really like, it's like, oh wow, this is Disney World, this is Disneyland, and you're just walking through. But like the things that are on display and everything, some of the gifts and everything, like it's not necessarily everything that you would find in America. It's, it's tailored towards the Japanese audience, obviously. And then also, because I didn't go there this time, but I've been to Tokyo Disney Sea, and Tokyo Disney Sea is a beautiful park and it's amazing to look at. And it's such a cool setup because it has the different ports of the world and everything. It gives you a different experience. And, even though you're walking down Main Street USA, like I said, you walk into a store and you're like, oh, this is not what you would find. You would find some of these things in America, but you wouldn't find all these items and stuff like that. So it's one of those like, okay, you could see the difference in like what you would spend money on in America as opposed to in Japan. And then the food offerings, right? So you also, like, wherever you go to eat, you know, I mean, we went to eat over in Frontierland, I want to say, after going on, you know, Big Thunder, and which still great. You know, it's not the biggest thrill, but you know, it's still fun. And we had curry instead of, you know, having like a hot dog or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you really see the difference in. And, you know, to be honest, like the price of curry was so much better than most things. So it's like, I'm like, man, the dollar goes far here. So, which is a positive thing when you're on vacation. But so you could, those are the differences. I would say that when you really, you know, you're experiencing Disney as it is, but then it's like, oh, we're still in Japan and I'm having, you know, curry with rice and, you know, and I'm having an Asahi instead of, you know, whatever beer is in a Disney park. I can't remember at this point, you know, an American Disney park.
Quite a few these days. Quite a few.
Yeah.
Just had a podcast episode with a guy who's he's the WDW beer guy, and so yeah,
very cool.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously different experiences to a certain degree at each park. Obviously, you walk out of this one and you're in Tokyo.
Right. Well, but so it's funny because you do have to take like a monorail. The monorail brings you back kind of to the train station and everything. And then you're back to Tokyo. And then you're like, and the funny thing is that the day we went, it was so windy that like the trains were running late, and you just like, you forget that like it's like, oh yeah, there's like 60-mile-an-hour winds outside right now and some trains can't run. And you're like, oh, so, but yeah, it is like, oh, okay, now we're getting back on the train and I'm going to go do karaoke in Asakusa, you know? So, but yeah.
So, you mentioned, you mentioned the other park, Disney Sea there.
Yep.
If you had to rank, where would you put those Japanese parks in terms of the rankings, in terms of the parks that you've been to?
Man, it's really tough. I don't think I would rate Tokyo Disneyland as high. Like, I would say it was like Disneyland in California. I would say it's kind of on par for that. Disney Sea, because it's so unique and everything, and it's so cool, I would say it elevates to like definitely above Hollywood Studios, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't know. I don't know if it's the park for me. But Epcot is like my favorite park of all time. So I would say that it's kind of on par with at least Magic Kingdom, and probably touching Epcot. So just for uniqueness and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, Epcot's always a great time. You know,
right.
You can't go wrong with going around the countries and having a bite to eat and having a drink in each one. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for, you know, letting me put you on the spot like that. And thank you for helping me out with this week's Maz's Mickey Minute.
No problem.
Well, I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner.
See you real soon.
All right. So we've covered WesternMassCon. We've covered a little bit of Disney. I guess, well, this is also, you know, pop culture related and Disney related. So we're just going to wrap this up with this. It's coming up soon. What are your thoughts on the upcoming mall series?
Oh my God, dude. I mean, I am so excited because like there are people that are like, oh, we're getting more mall. It's like, if I could get more mall, I would thank the heavens, because Darth Maul was when he was introduced, he was this enigma that didn't really say anything. But we knew he was a Sith, and he had an amazing fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn. And then, you know, and then he died, but he didn't. In the Clone Wars, did so much for Maul. And what was it? What was the animated series? Was it Rebels?
Rebels, yeah.
Rebels, where Kenobi, an old man Kenobi, runs into Maul finally, and Kenobi's made peace with what he is, whereas Maul is still this just tortured, and it you're expecting this big fight. Nope, just bang bang bang, and Maul falls to the ground. And I just
spoiler alert.
Geez, sorry. Yeah,
if you haven't seen it by now,
if you haven't seen it by now, I really hope that you would. I mean, everybody dies at some point, but but I am so excited to see more of Maul, because after the Clone Wars, there's this big gap, and we even saw Maul brought into Solo, a Star Wars story, and we never got more of him after that. But so to get more Maul now is just so good.
No, I agree. I think he's one of the most intriguing and one of the characters that really they've made the most depth. Like, I mean, and credit to Dave Filoni and the team working on the Clone Wars for understanding basically the lump of clay that they had there that they could work with and really develop what was a sorely underdeveloped, character, which, is kind of a running theme with Star Wars. Is a lot of especially the villains are these underdeveloped characters, and maybe they're meant to be that way, so they're disposable, but, there was an intrigue to Maul right off the bat that especially you don't necessarily have with a Count Dooku or some of these others. That I'm really glad that they took the next step with that character, and you're getting more Maul because there's potential for more story. I mean, there are plenty of times when I look at something and I'm just like, do we really need more of this? I honestly felt that way when they said they were making the Mandalorian and Grogu. I was just like, do we need this? Now the trailer for that looks like it's at least going to be fun. So it's something that I can have some fun with. But anyway, when you have something like Maul that you can see that there's more story to tell, tell the story. And I'm also intrigued. I really hope that we get a little bit more of like a deep dive into, the galactic underworld. Because, and truthfully, that's kind of what I was hoping for with the Book of Boba Fett, which
I'm glad that you said that. Yep.
But that was maybe my disappointment with Book of Boba Fett kind of stemmed from, I was really hoping to get that kind of plunge into it, with that. So I'm hoping that there's a bit more of that, with this series.
Like with Maul, at the end of Clone Wars, Maul was not a good guy. And he never has been.
Right.
But he was having, he was talking about how he was having these dreams and he needed to stop what was happening. And in effect, Maul was thinking on a level that even his methods weren't going to be good, but he saw this issue with Anakin and the Emperor and everything, and he was like, we need to stop this. And when he was talking to Ahsoka and saying that, we need to work together on this, and Ahsoka just was like, you don't know Anakin, and Maul was basically like, I don't think you do, but he ran a criminal empire. He was a character that was usually thinking 2 steps ahead.
Right.
But at times, it was just circumstance, he couldn't prevent everything, happening to him, but he ran a criminal empire. He's so interesting, and he's not a good guy, but he's really that shade of gray that you're like, but you're interesting. So you want to keep you want to know what happens to him and what had happened to him. So I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be good. So
you're seeing a lot more interest in the Gray generally, but
Right.
you know, with him especially, is one of those guys that's just like, okay, you're not good, but you're also not wrong,
right.
you know.
And it goes to show like the shades of you know, like sometimes you need that person who's just, and I'm not saying this for anything in real life, but sometimes you have that person that's like, they're not a great person, but they're right, you know. And so you see those characters in anime, you see them all over the place, and you know, in Star Wars, he's the guy. So I'm so excited for more Maul. I just keep on giving me that. Just keep on feeding me Maul and clones. We're running out of clone material, I understand. You know, it's hard to get any more out of that, but you know, here we are.
All right. Well, and keep with them all as long as there's a story to tell. You know, let's not let's not get to the point where we're trying to squeeze blood from a stone here.
Right. Have a story. Don't give me filler.
Right.
You know, be Andor. You know, give me 2 seasons of great TV, and then you can end it. You know, and I don't mind it. So.
Alrighty. Well, Joe, thanks very much for joining me. I wish you luck with the with WesternMassCon. And by the way, are we looking at a capacity or anything like this for this, or is it basically just like, you know, as many people as we can until we run out of tickets?
As many as we can until we run out of tickets, and you'll know when we do. So, like, if you try to get in, it's not gonna let you. So, but no, we've got a good amount of capacity there. So we're gonna have, you know, it's family friendly, and you know, just, you know, you got to keep an eye on your kid. We're close to a casino, so you know, you can't let them run wild. So, but yeah, we're away from the casino a bit so that, you know, you can have fun with your kid and everything. So, but yeah.
And remember, if you're listening, that you cannot get tickets day of. So be sure to go online and purchase your tickets in advance.
Definitely.
All right, Joe. Thanks very much. And well, let's hope for some more good TV.
Alrighty. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Chris. Thank you again for having me. You've had me quite a bit, so I do appreciate it all the time. So I hope that your future podcasts go great. But I hope this one goes a little bit better. So,
well, I appreciate you indulging me by my continued requests to have you come on. So,
definitely.
Well, Joe helped me out with this week's Maz's Mickey Minute, and if you are looking for some help with your next vacation, you should definitely be talking with We Do Travel Right. Now, We Do Travel Right offers that one-on-one service of an agent, but that agent has the power of a team behind them, including like the dining team, which will help you with all of those hard-to-get dining reservations. Now, they also help with your park tickets, with your resort rooms, with all the ins and outs that there are with a Disney vacation, which can get complicated. And the best part is all of these services are free. Yeah, you don't pay anything else to use We Do Travel Right. That's because whether you're going to Disney or you're going to Universal or you're going on a cruise or an all-inclusive, all of those places build the use of an agent into their pricing already. So you're paying for the agent whether you use it or not. And with We Do Travel Right, making sure that your vacation is staying within your budget, doesn't it make sense to use the agent and use something that you're already paying for? So, if you're ready to get your next magical vacation started today, head to WeDoTravelRight.com/Mazza. That's WeDoTravelRight.com/MAZA. All right. Well, thanks for joining me on this episode of the Maz's Musings podcast. And thank you very much to Joe for joining me to talk about WesternMassCon. Now, if you're not exactly familiar with where Springfield, Massachusetts is, we're in the western half of the state, but we're right at the crossroads of two major highways. So if you are in Massachusetts, or you're in Connecticut, you're in southern Vermont, or you're in like that northeastern part of New York, this is really accessible from all of those kinds of areas. So I would encourage you to check out this event, to buy your tickets online in advance, because there are no tickets at the door. But once you're there, you're going to be able to meet some people. You're going to get to experience some things. You're going to get to sit in on some cool panels. You're going to meet some people who have had the opportunity to star in some of the shows that you may have enjoyed. There's also going to be things for gamers. It just sounds like there's going to be a little something for everyone, regardless of what you're into. So I am going to have the information for this in the show notes for this episode. So be sure to go and click on that to get your tickets. And while you're poking around, I would say, hey, why don't you check us out and join our community, The Musin Place, which is our Facebook community, which is steadily growing, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. You can find that by going to our Maz's Musings podcast Facebook page, or there's also a link to that directly on our website, which is mazasmusings.wordpress.com. Now, in addition to the Musin Place, Facebook, and the website, we're also on X, Instagram, and Threads at Maz's Musings Pod. We are on TikTok at Maz's Musings Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, so go and subscribe there. And we also have a Bluesky. And while you are poking around all these places, trying to get to know us a little better, you can check out the website to find the past episodes. You can also find more about this podcast, and you can find out how to sign up for our newsletter, which will come to your inbox once a week and let you know what's happening with this podcast. Plus, we'll point out anything that we think is cool or interesting. And sometimes we'll have even things like sweepstakes that we found that we think that people would enjoy being a part of. While you're there, if you'd like to step up your support just a little bit, you can buy us a blue milk. And buying us a blue milk is just a small, obligation-free way to help us with some of the small monetary costs that go into putting this podcast together. If you're not ready for that level of support, well, telling your friends is another great way to help us grow this community. Word of mouth is the best, but you can also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcatcher, and those will help bump us up in those algorithms that they use to make podcasts more visible to people. The more people we have listening, the more people we have that we can interact with and grow the community. And whether you are listening for the first time or buying us blue milk or anything in between, I certainly appreciate the support. And I hope you have a great weekend, a great Easter for those who celebrate, a happy Passover, and I hope you have a great week. Music for the Maz's Musings podcast is brought to you by Hi Dad Soup. Check them out at Mickey and Minutes on Instagram.